the world feels like it's in chaos, and you may feel like things in your life are highly stressful and out of control. In this episode, we're going to talk about some of the things that we struggle with this year and how we managed and cope with using our varied takes on self-care. If you've been listening to us for a while, thank you for coming back. And if you're tuning in for the first time, welcome. And thank you for giving us a listen.
Yeah, we're so grateful for our listeners and for those of you who engage with us on social media. This is Our Erie and our community. So we've started a book club, and guess what? You can be a part of it. So this month we're reading Black Indians, A Hidden Heritage by William Loren Katz. The book is a nonfiction, and it studies the relationship between Black Africans and Indigenous Native American people. You can find this book locally at Pressed Books. And coffee, it's at 1535 West 8th Street or wherever you buy books, but we highly encourage you to shop local. And Pressed got these books just for this book club, so we're really excited to have their collaboration with us in this project.
Yeah, if you're interested in joining our discussion, you can sign up to join our book club with the link in the episode description. You can also let us know your thoughts on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Our Erie Series.
We try to highlight and introduce people who are doing things around Erie, but now we want to start highlighting you. Our top fan of the week this week is Delia Ode, Paige B., John G. Duckworth, and Craig J. Stadler. Thanks again for all y'all's support. Now let's get into this episode. You're listening to the Our Erie podcast with Davona Pacley,
Marty Nwachukwu,
and Lydia Laythe.
This series will bring citizens, entrepreneurs, activists, politicians, artists, and thought leaders to the table for a frank discussion around societal issues facing our post-industrial city and the United States at large. Take a seat. It's crazy because my self-care Saturday, it then goes into self-care Sunday. It's just the whole weekend is self-care, honestly.
Right.
Like it's filled with that for myself. So
as it should be. I
right?
feel like maybe it's like, I don't want to like build this like the capitalist system or like the patriarchy or whatever, but I do feel like there's this unnatural pressure to just always be productive or always be doing something. I also think personally for myself, like I put a pressure on myself to always be doing something to like further the things I'm passionate about. So if I'm not fighting the patriarchy, if I'm not fighting racism, if I'm not contributing to the betterment of the community during every second, then I'm like, what did I do today?
Yes, no. I really didn't gain the concept of self-care until recently, and we'll talk about that, but I really didn't gain it until like really working within mental health and behavioral health and realizing, oh shit, like I need time for myself. Like I need to take that moment, like mind boggling like that. And, and so now it's like self-care needs to happen. If I don't have it, I feel so off.
Yeah.
This is going to be the first time that we're actually going to be talking about self-care. It's so necessary at this moment. And I just really feel like this is our moment to share the things that we do in our perspectives on self-care, and we can share it with y'all. So then you guys can let us know at the end what you do for self-care. So how are y'all feeling?
I don't know. I really don't know.
Yeah.
This work week, and they're all talking to all my coworkers too. Everyone was kind of like gray and not feeling like focused and not feeling motivated, some people, and I felt the same way. So I don't know if it's because of the changing weather or coming off of 2020 but still having to do a lot of planning for next year selections. It just feels like you're always chugging and there isn't really rest.
Yes.
So I don't know. I'm looking forward to the holidays. I'll have about 2 weeks off, so hopefully that'll rejuvenate me. But I recognize too with the conversations around self-care, it's a more of an active act of taking care of yourself. And for me in the past has always been just like sleeping through the weeks.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to hearing what you two do and what others in the community do to like take care of themselves.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm excited to talk about self-care, because I do think there's a lot of mixed emotions around self-care. I think self-care sometimes can be like commodified, where it's like, oh, you have to buy this face mask, or you have to
Yeah.
buy this, you know, drink or this or that, like to help take care of yourself. And, you know, you don't really care about yourself if you're not doing all these different things. But for me, at least, like self-care can look like anything, as long as it feels rejuvenating to you and feels like re-energizing to you. And that is going to be so different for every single person. Um, so yeah, but as far as feeling goes, yeah, it's weird. It's weird. I think COVID especially has just made me feel like isolated in
Mm.
like a weird way, because I know that people are still out there, but and like I still get to talk to you all via Zoom, but
Mm.
yeah, it's weird. I'm a very extroverted person. I'm very like, I process everything externally. So like if I'm not able to talk it out with someone, like it just doesn't happen, or it like just like festers inside. And so
I feel
having to just be distant from people uh is just strange and challenging.
I feel that. I feel that. And, you know, I even had to look at like the privilege of living with somebody, you know, because there's a lot of people who are just that are living alone, or that really don't have another person living like, you know, around them. So even that, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so happy that I have my wife that's with me at my house with, you know, and I couldn't imagine being alone. So I think that even within all this going on, I then think about others. How are other people doing? And I don't know, like, if that's necessarily a bad thing. So that's why self-care is so needed, because I feel everything. I feel like I feel the energy of the world. So it's like, okay, Davona, you need to take a moment for yourself, because if you don't, you can get so consumed with all of that that it can like bring me literally to tears, like, and just be depressed. And like, I feel all the things. So I don't know if a lot of people resonate with that out there. If you're empaths or you're feelers, whew, I feel for y'all. And I really, that's a lot. It's a lot. So when I say that is that what I'm feeling is I'm feeling a lot of emotions, like happiness, joy, but then I'm also feeling discomfort, where there's like stress and there's like a lot of uneasiness. And so, you know, that's kind of what I'm feeling. And it's rough. I mean, I don't know if anybody else can relate with that, like feeling
For
like
sure.
feeling, you know?
I think I've always been very conscious of what's going on in the world, but the pandemic has really highlighted for myself personally, and I think for most people who care about other people,
Mhm.
how impactful it is watching the world go through something together, or watching the world or the community suffer through something together.
Right.
Like, no matter how good things may be going in your personal life,
Mhm.
it still affects you knowing that there are people,
Yeah.
you know, losing their work, there are people getting sick, there are people losing their loved ones. And no matter how, I mean, I shouldn't speak for everyone, but for myself, I feel like no matter how much sometimes I can take care of myself or be conscious of how I'm protecting my energies, like the problems of the world still very much impact you. We're not isolated beings. And for
Mhm.
people who pretend that they are, I don't know about them. They're
Right.
dangerous people.
Right. No, really, really. Because we are a community. We're supposed to be, you know, uh, community centered. And I think that's why I'm so grateful for us having this book club, because we are going to be able to have the opportunity to talk about how community, and that was how our society is supposed to be. But we have gotten into this, like what Lydia's talking about, we got started getting into the conversations of like the patriarch and all that. Like, we are so affected by all of that, that I think now COVID is really showing us what it means to build up your community, love on your community in a time of need. Like, we're seeing people just like different organizations, people kind of just like, you know, taking the community and taking their own kind of their own responsibility for what they need to be doing for the community, which is a beautiful thing. And I mean, at least that's where I see that it's like this time, although it's been a high time of stress, I've seen so many people come together and support one another, and really like it really is, it gives you hope, and it makes you feel good, you know, which is, it's a beautiful thing. I'm just, I'm grateful for that. We're in a different time, you know, even through COVID, we're realizing like there's been many pandemics and people like have gone through way more than that we can even imagine right now. You know what I'm saying? Like we have the opportunity to sit at home with technology, right? We have the opportunity to, you know, I mean, I don't know, like make extra money through using apps. Generations ago, they did not have that. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I think that even now, I'm just looking at how grateful I am to be in this time. Like, and I don't know if anybody else can relate with that.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Oh, for sure. I was just talking to Buster about it the other day because so for anyone that doesn't know, I have a stepson named Benji, who's the greatest kid in the whole wide world. I'll fight you about it. But yeah, so Buster has a son, Benji, and a couple of years ago or a year and a half ago, I forget, Benji's mom moved to Texas and took Benji with her. And he and I were just talking the other day about just like, how difficult being away from your child is, period. But that of all the time periods to be 1,000 miles away from your son, the fact that we can FaceTime and video chat with him, and that they can still do a lot. Like Buster does this thing where he is like different kinds of like monsters. So he'll be like the licky monster, and he'll like come out and be like with his tongue, you know, laying, and he's like, I'm the licky monster, or I'm the huggy monster, I'm the tickle monster, or whatever. And we would do that when Benji's with us. But then even when they're like FaceTiming or video chatting, like he'll do that, and Benji will be like, "Ooh, I hope it's the huggy monster," and like all these like silly things. But something like that may not be possible if you were just talking on the phone, or if you were writing letters, or so, you know, I mean, like all the different things that I'm sure so many parents have had to go through in different decades, that that we're really blessed that if this had to happen at any time, like we're really lucky to have the technology we do to keep us connected. I mean, we're lucky that we have the technology to keep us connected as a group.
Right.
You know, like this would not have been possible in a different decade.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much struggle, but there is a lot to be grateful for. And I do think gratitude is a self-care tool.
I was just going to say that
gratitude is such a powerful tool for taking care of yourself. And even just, you know, like you were talking about, Davona, with acknowledging that like we're so lucky to have stuff that we know other people don't have. And while that can make us sad, it also reminds us to be grateful for what we do have, to have a partner that we live with, that we care about, or to have the technology we do. So I think gratitude is an underrated, simple, free self-care tool that does not buy into the capitalist system and costs you nothing, but really can be a powerful way of reminding yourself to take care of yourself.
Right. And it just brings you internal peace, and it brings peace to the world. I don't think people understand the amount of energy you can put out, whether negative or positive. I'm not going to say that I'm always a positive person now, because I am not. But I will say, like you said, with gratitude, I really, in my journal, that's one of my big self-care things is journaling. I journal, you know, the things that I'm grateful for. If there's a day where I'm like really stressed out, I'm like, okay, let me take a moment. Let me go write in my journal 5 things I'm just grateful for. It can be breathing, because I'm grateful for that today. I'm grateful that I'm able to have glasses to put on my face. Like I'm grateful to be able to brush my teeth. Like I just think about those simple things and I'm like, okay, let me write that down. And it really brings you back to like, okay, these are the important things. Like all the other stuff was whatever you were going through was it was very surfacey. That wasn't something you had to worry about. So it really just brings me like peace to do that. I love journaling. Do y'all journal? Like
yeah. Sometimes more times than others. Like I feel like the times I journal the most are when I'm the most stressed, or there isn't a lot going on, so I need an activity to do. But yeah, it's definitely a great outlet, especially now with COVID. Every time I go outside, whether it's for a doctor's appointment or something, I'm always set off by what I see. So I usually vent to my boyfriend, but otherwise I'm like, I can't just always unload on people because everyone is acting up right now.
Yeah.
So I've been journaling very heavily and putting in those gratitudes, and also sharing those gratitudes with other people beyond you know, because I think that's also very important, you know, thanking the people around you for even the littlest things they do. So
Yes. Facts.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I love writing and kind of like you, Marty, like I write for every emotion. Like, and I have a different journal for every topic too. Like if this is like my like venting notebook and here's my gratitude, or like this might be too much but like Buster and I have like a journal that we call it our like love journal, but it's like we just write like things that we did together or things that we appreciate about each other, and then we like write back and forth, and like we've started it since we started dating, and it's been like one of like the nicest things. We have like 5 or 6 of them in like our house, because you document all the things that you do, and then it's so easy to turn back and be like, oh yeah, look at how many great things we've done together, or you know, just to get in that practice of expressing like, I was so grateful when Buster did this little thing, or I just really appreciate this about, you know, our relationship, things like that. And so or sometimes even being able to express things that were like vulnerable, you know, like, oh, I was feeling like a little mixed about, you know, this conversation we had, and I didn't know how to express it, and then like processing that through writing and writing out how you're feeling and being able to process that on paper then is like a very easy way to then convert that into a conversation. So then we'd write it out, and then I'd be like, okay, I wrote something in the love journal I'd like to talk to you about, but I didn't really know how to express it. So like, if you want to read it, and then we can talk about it, and then we would. And it's been such a powerful tool, not only for like individually, but for like our relationship, I think has been really powerful.
Thank you for sharing. I might have like really, that's inspiring. That is a very good idea. And I really love that. I never thought to do anything like that. Now I feel like I want to not steal, but do you mind if I use that?
It's not stealing at all. Do it. But you have to call it Lydia's love journal.
Okay.
I have to be included in it. No, I'm kidding.
See, I am grateful that we live in this time where we can openly talk about these things. So I feel like that's another, like I feel like our generation is privileged in that we have these conversations about being open about our emotions, or being open about where we are, and talking about it with friends, or talking about it with our partners, but still a work in progress. And I hope that things get better for the generation after us.
You've been listening to the Our Erie podcast, the voice of reason in the fog of post-industrial America. Next week, our guests will be Amina and Makayla of Erie's Green New Deal Coalition to debrief the event Friend or Foe, Should Erie Embrace International Recycling Group's Supersized Plastic Processing Plant? If you would like to continue the conversation, visit our Facebook page at facebook.com/Our Erie Series. This podcast is produced by John C. Lyons, Marty Nwachukwu, Davona Pacley, and Lydia Laythe. Music by Corey Cook. Funding provided by Erie Arts and Culture. And we appreciate you all for listening to our Erie podcast. Peace.